Have you ever noticed those people who just seem to glide through life, making big decisions without breaking a sweat? It's like they have a secret superpower. While the rest of us are stressing, overthinking, and losing sleep, they're calm, cool, and collected. What is their secret? Is it something you're born with? Or is it a skill you can learn? Well, I've got good news. It's absolutely a skill. And today, we're going to dive deep into the mindset of people who make decisions calmly. We'll break down their thought processes, their habits, and the mental models they use to navigate life's toughest choices with grace and confidence. By the end of this video, you'll have a practical toolkit to start making better, calmer decisions in your own life. So, if you're ready to trade anxiety for clarity, stick around. First, let's talk about the biggest obstacle to calm decision-making: emotion. When we're faced with a high-stakes choice, our emotions can go into overdrive. Fear, anxiety, excitement, they all cloud our judgment. Calm decision-makers understand this. They don't suppress their emotions. That's impossible and unhealthy. Instead, they acknowledge them, and then they create distance. One of the most powerful techniques they use is called decentering. This means they see their thoughts and feelings as temporary events passing through their mind, not as a reflection of reality or who they are. When a wave of anxiety hits, they don't say, "I'm an anxious person." They say, "I'm noticing a feeling of anxiety right now." This subtle shift in language creates a space between them and the emotion. It allows them to observe the feeling without being controlled by it. It's like watching storm clouds pass by from the safety of your window, rather than being caught outside in the rain. This mental distance gives them the clarity needed to evaluate the situation logically. Another key component is their relationship with uncertainty. Most of us crave certainty. We want to know exactly how things will turn out before we make a move. This desire for a guaranteed outcome is a major source of decision paralysis. People who decide calmly have made peace with uncertainty. They accept that no decision comes with a 100% guarantee. Life is unpredictable. Instead of trying to predict the future, they focus on what they can control, the decision-making process itself. They ask themselves, based on the information I have right now, what is the most reasonable path forward? They don't aim for the perfect decision. They aim for a wise decision. They understand that a good decision is not defined by its outcome, which is often out of their control, but by the quality of the thinking that went into it. This frees them from the pressure of having to be a fortune teller and allows them to move forward with confidence, even when the future is foggy. So how do they build this wise process? They gather information, but they do it strategically. Panicked decision makers either collect way too much information, leading to analysis paralysis, or they don't collect enough and act impulsively. Calm decision makers find the middle ground. They follow the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle. They recognize that roughly 80% of the useful information needed for a decision often comes from about 20% of the sources. So, they identify the most critical pieces of information they need and focus on getting those first. They might talk to a couple of trusted experts, read a few key reports, or do some targeted research. They set a deadline for their information gathering phase. This prevents them from falling down an endless rabbit hole of research. Once they feel they have a solid 80% understanding of the situation, they know that's usually enough to make a well-informed choice. They accept that they'll never have all the information, and that's okay. Once they have the information, they don't just stare at it. They use mental models to structure their thinking. A mental model is simply a framework for looking at a problem. One popular model is the regret minimization framework, famously used by Jeff Bezos when he decided to start Amazon. The idea is to project yourself into the future, say to age 80, and look back on your life. From that perspective, you ask yourself, which action or inaction will I regret more? This reframes the decision not around short-term fear or gain, but around long-term life satisfaction. It cuts through the immediate noise and helps you focus on what truly matters to you. Another powerful model is second-order thinking. First-order thinking is simple. I do X, and I get Y. It's about the immediate consequence. Second-order thinking asks, and then what? It forces you to consider the long-term ripple effects of your decision. For example, the first-order consequence of taking a new, higher-paying job is more money. The second-order consequences might be a longer commute, less time with family, and more stress, which could eventually impact your health and happiness. Calm decision makers are constantly thinking about these downstream effects. which prevents them from making choices that look good on the surface but are detrimental in the long run. Something else that sets them apart is their bias toward action, but it's a very specific kind of action. They understand that many decisions are reversible. They categorize choices into two types, Type 1 and Type 2 decisions. Type 1 decisions are like one-way doors. They are big, consequential, and very difficult or impossible to reverse. Think about things like having a child or selling your company. These decisions require slow, deliberate thought. But most of our decisions are Type 2 decisions. They're like two-way doors. You can walk through, and if you don't like what you see on the other side, you can walk right back. Choosing a new software for your team, trying a new marketing strategy, or picking a restaurant for dinner. These are all Type 2. Calm decision makers don't waste massive amounts of mental energy on Type 2 decisions. They make a choice quickly, gather feedback, and if it's the wrong one, they pivot. They know that an action itself is a decision, and often a very costly one. This approach allows them to conserve their precious mental energy for the big, irreversible Type 1 choices that truly matter. Let's also touch on self-trust. People who make calm decisions have cultivated a deep sense of trust in themselves. This doesn't mean they think they're always right. It means they trust their ability to handle the consequences, whatever they may be. They have a strong belief in their own resilience and resourcefulness. This belief is built over time by making decisions and seeing them through. They learn from their mistakes instead of beating themselves up over them. They see a bad decision not as a personal failure, but as a learning opportunity. Each mistake is a data point that refines their future decision-making. This growth mindset is crucial. When you trust that you can handle any outcome, the fear associated with making a choice shrinks dramatically. You're no longer afraid of messing up because you know that even if you do, you'll be okay. You'll learn, you'll adapt, and you'll move on, stronger and wiser than before. Finally, and this might be the most underrated aspect, they prioritize their physical and mental well-being. You cannot make calm decisions when your mind and body are in a state of chaos. Calm decision makers are disciplined about the fundamentals. They get enough sleep. They exercise. They eat well. They practice some form of mindfulness, whether it's meditation, deep breathing, or just taking quiet walks in nature. Why is this so important? Because a tired, stressed, and poorly nourished brain is a reactive brain. It operates from the amygdala, the primitive part responsible for fight or flight. A well-rested and well-cared-for brain, on the other hand, can more easily access the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational thought, planning, and impulse control. It's a simple biological reality. Taking care of your body is not a luxury. It's a non-negotiable prerequisite for clear thinking and calm decision-making. They treat their well-being as a strategic asset. So, let's put it all together. The mindset of a calm decision maker isn't about being emotionless or having a crystal ball. It's a proactive, systematic approach. They create distance from their emotions. They embrace uncertainty and focus on process over outcome. They gather information strategically and use mental models like the regret minimization framework and second-order thinking to structure their thoughts. They differentiate between reversible and irreversible decisions, acting quickly on the former. They build self-trust by learning from their mistakes and believing in their own resilience. And critically, they make their physical and mental health a top priority. This isn't magic. It's a set of skills and habits. And the best part is, you can start building them today. Pick one thing we talked about. Maybe it's just noticing your feelings without judgment. Or maybe it's asking, and then what, the next time you face a choice. Small changes, practiced consistently, lead to massive transformations over time. You have the power to move from a state of constant anxiety to one of calm, confident clarity. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found these insights valuable. If you did, a like and a subscribe would be amazing. It really helps the channel grow. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these strategies are you going to try first? Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.